The townspeople in Concord petitioned the legislature in the late 1800s and asked to have a prison built here in town. My involvement occurred late 1960s, early 70s, when we moved to Concord and decided that we should become active in a faith community. And there were a group of 8 of us who were together, and the chair of the organization said, this group operates a little differently than many committees. Each one of us should come up with a program and execute it with other parishioners. I looked around and I realized that there was a prison in our town. So I called the superintendent of the prison and I made an appointment and went to visit him. And bless his heart, he didn't laugh when I said, is there something a group of women can do to help in the prison? And he thought for a minute and he said, yes, we need curtains for the infirmary. Jean and I were very much of a team in prison education programs. She was equally excited about continuing the educational opportunities that really had begun way back in the late 1800s.
My involvement started in the late 1970s. I was on the Social Ministry Commission at Trinity Church, and our chairman said, you know, you don't need to go to Boston to find a need. We have it here in our own backyard, the prison. That somehow rang a bell with me. I then wanted to find out what could be done.
In her 12 years as the executive director of CPO, Lenore James pursued the CPO mission with passion and dedication. She inspired CPO volunteers and frequently shared her appreciation of the work they did behind bars.
This work is not easy. This work is truly a calling that has been answered by Concord Prison Outreach volunteers. We try to give these disenfranchised men a sense of unshakable self-worth. We are all very grateful for the loving professionals and others who serve their fellow men so willingly that somehow miracles happen through their efforts.
So I've been working, I guess, with CPO for, 10 years or so. I think maybe I have the broadest experience of anybody around. And it's been great to be involved for the last 4 or 5 years in registering people for Caroling Night, which is an opportunity for the adults in the community to come and meet men that are on the inside. It's just a sort of wonderful get-together where there's a local pastor and a short message. There are also refreshments made by the men in the culinary arts program. And it's just a tender time as the holiday season starts.
Working as executive director for those 5 years, to have the opportunity to develop programs, find volunteers, connect people with ways that they could serve was just so powerful. It's often hard as a volunteer to find places where you can really use your talents and really make a difference. And CPO has such wonderful programs, and the population of the men and women in prison have so many needs, and to be able to match people who had skills with that needs were just fabulous. The other part was the teaching of the Beacon, the emotional literacy program. To teach a program that was very much centered on helping people understand their emotions and develop the skills of introspection and empathy. You have to understand yourself before you can understand how your actions impact other people.
As a kindergarten teacher, I stumbled upon this program, Read to Me Daddy, which had been out of service but was a perfect fit for me because it combined working with the men who are behind bars, but also bringing out a relationship with their kids through a love of reading children's books. A huge part of it, and really the kind of beacon behind it all, is Win Wilbur.
We tried to teach them a little bit about what children were like and what the things they were scared about and the things they worried about, the things they liked and the things they wanted to know about, and how important it was for every child to know that he had a father who cared about him, and that the most important thing that a father could give this child was not the book, but the sense that he cared and loved his child, and that he could really give that child a sense of his reality for him.
I also really love when the men make the reading their own, and some get extremely creative. So I have fond memories of one man, Jonathan, who had 5 children, and he read the book Going on a Bear Hunt, which has 5 children in it. So he replaced the names with the names of the children in the book with the names of his kids, and kind of added little details to make it special for them. And he even came in wearing a bathrobe over his clothes and had a tray of cookies as if he was reading a bedtime story.
The holiday gift bag program started actually as prison boxes. There were shoe boxes, and people were given a list from the Department of Corrections as to what to put in it. Then over the years it switched to become the bags. I've been one of the leaders for about 15 years now. At one point we were making 2,000 bags. I've given out the bags, and I remember the first year that I did this, it was very emotional for me to see such a large number of men coming through. Men who are old enough to be my father, my husband, and even my sons.
We grow the food because these guys love fresh vegetables. And they have institutional food, it's all good quality food, but you don't get the broad scope of fresh vegetables. And that was a real selling point. We got a lot of guys involved in the program because of that. The beautification of the places. Hey, if you're going to live here, you might as well have the place look good. The visitor center in particular, that was something they wanted to do for the people to come in and visit them. That was their idea to do that. The big takers over here are the melon. And a lot of them really, they get the satisfaction when you see them starting the seeds, and all of a sudden they see them come up, and like today when we're handing out the cucumbers, they love that. That was the end of their hard work. The main thing is that you have to have a plan. I mean, you just can't go through life without a plan. I mean, you can have all the goals you want in life, and if you don't have a plan, all you're doing is wishing.
I have been focused on education in and about prisons for the last 25 years. And 3 years ago, I began as the executive director of Concord Prison Outreach, and it has been my distinct honor to be working with an organization that is committed to education, human connection, and transformation. I would say my primary emphasis has been on sustaining and growing educational programs. We now work in 8 prisons and 1 jail, and I've divided our educational programs into 5 areas. It's a gift to be working in concert with the Department of Correction, to collaborate with them in order to support needs, whether they're vocational or socio-emotional. So I would say, in addition to my role as an executive director, it's been rewarding to also be involved in a volunteer capacity. And I began co-facilitating the nonviolent communication class with our chair, Karen Barata. And more recently, I've been involved in the Repairing Harm curriculum, which is a 32-week curriculum. The Repairing Harm curriculum was developed by Daria Lyman, who works with UMass Boston. So it's a collaboration between the Department of Correction, Concord Prison Outreach, and UMass Boston, rooted in restorative justice and how can the students reckon with the harm that's been done to them and account for the harm that they have caused. And that is deeply powerful work. This idea of education as who is in our community, and our community includes the people who are behind the bars right down the street, a stone's throw away at that rotary on Route 2. It seems as if people are hungry right now to attend to the way we punish really carefully, and to consider an organization that has half a century of dedication to transformative prison education. I think we're well poised to be leading those conversations.